What comes to your mind when you think about basketball? Well, muscular black athletes with charming psyches and sensational abilities come to our minds. That's because 72% of NBA players are African Americans who have been dominating the sport for more than 100 years. But the interesting part is, when basketball was invented in 1891, in America, it was strictly a white sport. Black Africans were segregated from basketball and not allowed to play it. That's when the story of Black Fives, a famous black basketball team, comes in. Before 1949, black players were banned from the NBA, but Black Fives paved the way for blacks in not only basketball but in every other sport. But how did that unfold? Welcome to a new episode of Black Culture Diary, a channel where we talk about less known and hidden black history, culture, arts, and lost civilization. We scrutinize history here to bring the black culture back on the surface again. We encourage you to join our community in supporting and building a strong black history education medium. In this episode, we will explain how basketball led people to see how capable black people are in sports, opening doors to all games. Let's get started. In the early years of basketball, which began in 1891, teams were known as fives because they consisted of 5 players on the court. However, similar to the prevailing racial segregation in American society, basketball was also divided along racial lines. Here, it should be noted that before that, African Americans could not play basketball. However, later, the ban was changed to segregated sports. In other words, African Americans were allowed to play basketball, however, in their own segregated teams. Teams comprised entirely of African American players were commonly referred to as colored quints, Negro cagers, or Black Fives. The sport remained segregated until the 1940s when the National Basketball League, and later the National Basketball Association, integrated racially. However, during the intervening period known as the Black Fives era, many exceptional all-black basketball teams emerged and thrived. African Americans had already made significant strides in basketball even before the establishment of the NBA. Initially, these teams, sponsored by churches, athletic and social clubs, colored YMCAs, businesses, and newspapers, faced limited opportunities to play due to the segregation of gyms and athletic clubs, which were exclusively accessible to white individuals. However, with the advent of the phonograph in the early 1900s, black music genres such as ragtime, jazz, and blues experienced a surge in popularity, sparking a nationwide dance craze. Suddenly, dance halls and ballrooms replaced the more traditional parlor sheet music and player pianos. These newly available spaces became ideal venues for basketball games on off nights, featuring performances by renowned black musicians and late-night dancing. Major urban centers like New York, Washington, Pittsburgh, and Chicago witnessed a dynamic African American population. New migrants from the South and immigrants from various parts of the Caribbean, Africa, Central, and South America sought opportunities for connection and assimilation. As a result, Black Fives-era basketball games transcended their sporting nature and became significant social events. The merging of basketball and music, now a familiar combination, was an innovative development driven by African Americans who recognized the necessity, timing, and cultural awareness within their community. This is why early game advertisements often emphasized the combination of basketball and dance. While there was no formal black professional basketball league akin to baseball's Negro leagues, independent African American teams participated in a well-organized nationwide barnstorming circuit. These teams received national attention through coverage in the black press and local newspapers, competing for the annual title of Colored Basketball World's Champions. Among the numerous African American teams, one stood out as arguably the most successful basketball team of the century, regardless of race or ethnicity. The New York Renaissance, also known as the Harlem Rens, achieved extraordinary success from 1923 to 1948, winning a staggering 2,588 out of 3,117 games, an 83% winning percentage maintained over a span of 25 years. The Rens not only ushered in the era of the Harlem Renaissance, but also broke the color barrier in professional basketball, laying the groundwork for the civil rights movement. The teams and players of the Black Fives era accomplished remarkable feats despite limited resources, facing numerous fears, doubts, and obstacles, all fueled by their passion for the game. Through unwavering determination, collective purpose, and an unrelenting pursuit of success, they continued to ascend to greater heights of achievement on increasingly larger platforms, captivating growing audiences. In doing so, they instilled hope, ambition, pride, unity, practicality, and self-esteem within the African American community during a time that represented the most crucial period in the Black history of the past century. These attributes were vital for survival during that era. The men and women of the Black Fives era were true pioneers in basketball. Their commitment to showcasing their best skills and pushing the boundaries of the game opened doors for generations of African American players to come. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Until now, Black Fives had earned sufficient respect and fame. The NBA had already been considering ending racial segregation in sports and integrating other races, especially African Americans. Hence, in the 1949-50 season, something important happened in the NBA that changed how different races were treated. It was like when Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in baseball. The NBA had 3 Black players join the league, which was a big deal. Chuck Cooper was the first Black player picked in the NBA draft. Nathaniel Sweetwater Clifton was the first Black player to sign a contract with the NBA. Earl Lloyd became the first Black player to actually play in an NBA game. This was a huge step forward in breaking down racial barriers in the NBA. It opened doors for future Black players and transformed the league and the game of basketball itself. But this progress didn't happen overnight. It was built on the work of people who came before Lloyd, Clifton, and Cooper, almost 50 years earlier. In 1904, 13 years after basketball was invented by a Canadian named James Naismith, African Americans started playing the sport. A teacher named Edwin Bancroft Henderson, who lived in Washington, D.C., introduced basketball to Black people. He learned the game during summer sessions at Harvard University. When he came back to Washington, he shared basketball with young Black men in his gym class. From there, the game became popular and spread to cities like New York, Philadelphia, and Baltimore. In 1907, the Smart Set Athletic Club was formed in Brooklyn. It was the first fully organized Black basketball team in America. After that, more teams started popping up along the East Coast, like the Alpha Physical Culture Club and the St. Christopher Club in Harlem, New York City, the Monticello Athletic Association in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and the Washington 12 Streeters in Washington, D.C. However, not everyone was happy about Black basketball growing. Segregation kept Black players out of white clubs, and Black teams weren't allowed to play in gyms owned by white people, so they had to find creative ways to keep playing. They used church basements, halls, armories, and even dance ballrooms as venues. Despite these challenges, Black basketball thrived in communities across the country. Black promoters teamed up with Black musicians to organize special events that combined basketball and dancing. These events became really popular and lots of people came to watch. This helped Black basketball grow even more in the 1920s. As the game became more organized, Black teams started competing against each other to be called the Colored Basketball World's Champion. This title was given by important Black sports writers who covered basketball, like Lester Walton from the New York Age. There wasn't an official championship game or tournament, but the title was based on what these sports writers agreed upon. One team that became famous during that time was the New York Renaissance, also known as the Harlem Rens. It was owned by a Black man named Robert Douglas. They were considered the best team of their time. The Rens played against teams of different races and attracted large crowds. In 1938, they were invited to the first World Professional Basketball Tournament in Chicago. The tournament had the top 10 white professional teams from around the country and one other Black team, the Harlem Globetrotters. In an amazing victory, the Rens beat the Oshkosh All-Stars, who were champions of a whites-only league, in the final. This showed everyone that Black basketball was top-notch, and it cleared the way for integration into the NBA later on. When the NBA started accepting Black athletes, it marked the end of the Black Fives era, which lasted for nearly 50 years. During this time, Black basketball was really strong and successful. This era had a big impact on basketball and left a lasting legacy that still affects the sport today, not just in the United States, but all over the world. What if Black people had not started playing basketball in the streets? What if they had not won championships even before the NBA was established? Would they have created a space for them in basketball and in other sports? Let us know your opinion on the present NBA's Black players percentage. Does it not prove basketball is a sport that Black people can play phenomenally? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.